to today's Tuesday. Okay, welcome to today's Tuesday talk, and welcome back to the first broadcast on today's CitizenFest. So this is a special Tuesday talk, a series of talks that we're doing on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. But today's is part of the We Are One CitizenFest as well. So today we have Euan Hood, and we also have Alastair Minty, and their talk is going to be on living with autism, and they are going to make it interactive, aren't you?
We are indeed.
Yeah, and there's some short films, so I mean, lots to look forward to there, and lots of interesting content, I'm sure. So I'm just going to go from this broadcast and watch it elsewhere. So break a leg, you two guys. I look forward to seeing what you're saying and getting involved.
Right, thank you, Keith, for introducing us. That's cracking. So first of all, just a wee reminder before we start fully that whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, please feel free to add your comments. We've got a hello here from Suki Singh. Hi, Suki. We'll look forward to any of your comments, your thoughts, your questions as we go through, because this is supposed to be an interactive session. So, Euan, do you want to take the show away then?
Yeah, right. My name is Euan. Hello to everyone there. And I'm in the autistic spectrum. It's about autism and trust in my life. I received a diagnosis of autism quite late in my life at the age of 39. And I would like to share parts of my life and the experience of living with autism and what it means to other people. So there you go. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today.
Perfect. So, and I'm Alastair. I've known Euan for several years, and my role here is to help just facilitate the conversation with Euan about the content of the videos and his views on his life and autism.
Right. Autism is different for everyone. There will be a video after which each one, which takes about 2 minutes, there will be a question and answer discussion and what this made us think about. And this will be my life. The video 1 will be Autism and Trust. Video 2, Relationships in My Autism. And video 3, Euan's story, Alone in a Room Full of People. And that's basically my life. I use humor sometimes to try and make it easy for people to understand. So please join me for a look at how things have been and what can make a real difference, with emphasis in the word real. Alastair here is to help me with my story and share his thoughts as well about being involved in my life while I work through some of these issues. So video 1 we'll start with is Autism and Trust.
Okay. These are all just 2 minute videos. Okay, so that was the first video, Autism and Trust. So quite a lot of powerful discussions in there, a lot of really sort of quite heavy going topics. So do you want to maybe start taking us through a bit more of the detail of that, Euan, about any of the points that were raised?
Yeah, fear and dread of school with bullying, that affected me at school. That destroyed my confidence. I thought it was the bullying that made me shy. Growing up trying to sort out, that's great, and it's always been well supported, but sometimes you have to understand in life that autism, to understand the support, i.e. autism is about communication, and sometimes it really is communication. So that's that. Right, Alastair, do you want to go on to the next bit?
Yeah, so if we think about all of that, we've got did it change? Did you feel it changed at secondary school a bit in terms of the pattern of bullying? And
no,
despite
I was always shy at school, and the bullying went from the first day of school right through secondary, and I never understood why I couldn't socialize with people and talk. And it was because it was till the age of 39 I got diagnosed with autism. But I was always a loner, I was always an outsider. So this is where you get the words alone in a room full of people. I could be in a room full of people, but I did not know how to talk to them. So I was effectively alone, even though I was with lots of people. And I always wondered why I was shy and I couldn't communicate with others faster. And it took the age of 39 to realize it was the autism that it's a condition where I lack social skills. I lack communication is 93% body language, 7% verbal. So, but basically that explains it, Alastair, I think. Yeah.
Yes. Katrina's just brought in, we're starting to get a couple of comments in already. So Katrina's just shared this one. I think that a lot of professionals are afraid to be honest sometimes. People don't like to say no, so they avoid it. Would you say that that's something that's affected you, people sometimes not being straight with things and maybe saying things just to keep the peace rather than to be really honest?
For me, professionals have to be straight talking and tell it as it is. And I think a professional may be scared. I'm not sure what you're saying, the question, but some professionals would be scared to admit to not knowing autism or any condition, which is actually more damaging by not admitting to it. If someone admits to not knowing about autism and then asks how they can help you, that's good, because at least you know what you're working with. But if they don't know and understand autism and then they just start suggesting ideas left, right, and centre, that's potentially a recipe for disaster. And that's basically what happened to me. They didn't understand autism, but they wouldn't listen to me, and it actually caused more problems. Does that answer the question, Alistair?
Well, I think so. I think it's that thing about sometimes some professionals that they want to come in with answers. And I think this gets the heart of something that we often talk about, and it will come up more in the other videos as well, is about the ability to listen, not just the ability to tell you what they think because they're a professional and that kind of stuff. And sometimes the honesty, if honesty is hard, sometimes it's easier to fudge around the edges rather than say, actually, this needs to happen. You know, we need to do it this way.
Yeah.
Okay, we've also got a comment. Yeah.
I'm listening, Alistair, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So we've said from Suki saying, sorry to hear that about you being bullied in school. So obviously, there's lots of people end up getting bullied at school, and it's a horrible experience. But I think one of the things that you tell us in your story there was the fact that even when you told people, nobody did anything about it. It didn't change. It just kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
exactly. And when you tell, that was at school, and even in later life, when I'm telling professionals, this is the support I need, they're still not listening, and they've decided they know better. and it was just caused more disaster, which is why I'm now basically, Alastair Minty is my support guy at the moment, which is why, and he's one of the few people I trust because he listens as well as hearing and tries to understand, which is the most important thing, listening and understanding. Even if you don't understand, at least trying to is important. Okay.
Yes. And some of that stuff, it seems embarrassingly basic, doesn't it, really? And that's some of the messages is none of this stuff is rocket science. It's just genuinely don't rush in and think you know best. Katrina's also said, I wonder if avoiding saying something you're not going to be clear about what you can expect. Aye. So that's that thing about, some people avoid things because they're going to be difficult. Yeah, if you're not clear. But even if you know that you don't have a clear answer, honesty, that's one of the things that you value, really.
Yeah, I value. Tell me what you mean. Don't faff around with. Just tell it blunt and direct, and then I know what I'm working with. If you don't tell me direct, I'm not going to be able to read your mind.
Indeed. Communication can be a barrier to sometimes being open to different ways of communicating rather than avoiding and assuming someone simply doesn't understand. It's actually the other way around a bit with you, isn't it, Euan? Do you want to sort of say about that sometimes people presume that because you're so good at communicating that they don't understand the stress it puts you under when you're forced into difficult sort of communication. Do you want to say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, exactly. That's true, and that's what I've been told by professionals, is because I appear on the outside to seem okay, they think I can communicate better than I can. But every situation, and I kind of want the question there, every situation does require different types of communication. If you're in a stressful situation, you communicate differently. If you're in an easy situation, every situation you communicate can be different. And so the communication situations are difficult, i.e. maybe negotiation with someone about something, it becomes much harder. So and this is what professionals before Alastair didn't understand. They thought I could communicate better than I could, and they'd tell me to go and communicate, and I said, well, I can't. And by not doing it, they actually undermined my trust as well, and it caused chaos and a mess. But it's communication is just because you can communicate in one situation does not mean you can communicate the situation in another situation, and it varies, and people overestimate my communication skills. But I'm sure with the people I know in Edinburgh, I think a lot of them probably would have tell you exactly the same thing, because on the outside they don't appear autistic, but you just go a bit under the skin,
Perfect.
And
then that's really clear. So Gisem's asking, is it possible now, with all your experience and understanding, to help guide teachers and professionals towards handling situations like bullying at school better? So do you want to maybe say about your business plan?
Yeah, right. I did actually give a talk to teachers in a Scottish Guidance Teachers Association and also a school. And the bullying, they'll always go, I think they tried to do that. I'm not sure how they deal with that now and to the level I would like, because that's the most important thing for me. But understanding autism is important, and I tried to help them understand my personal experience, but a basic 1 hour autism presentation on the basics of autism, which lasts about an hour. Because with autism, you're dealing not only with communication, you're dealing with sensory issues as well. Sound, light, vision, the five senses, touch, all these things, the 5 senses as well. So I do give talks on autism, but it is important, as you say, for people to understand autism. If you don't understand autism, then there's things like, quote, behavioral issues, which can be quite terrifying for teachers. For example, if someone cannot read the body language, it might be absolutely terrifying for them to go into a classroom full of people, so they'll run out the door. So, and it can be scary for some, and some people won't even leave their house. They're so scared of communicating with people. Yeah. So,
yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just thinking time-wise, we'll probably better move on to the second video, but the issue is that we'll come back to Go Dynamics, who are going to come in with maybe some questions and some comments as well after this video. I just need to set it up, and I'll be with you in 2 seconds. And then we'll cover some of the other comments that people are sharing just now. 2 seconds. Here we go. This is video number 2, and this is relationships in my autism. So that's just a link to Euan's business email address, which you can contact in terms of what Gisem was talking about maybe getting Euan to do presentations for social workers, for students, for teachers, etc. We've had some more comments coming in as well. We've had Katrina saying you're more articulate than me, and Suki saying, how does someone talking fast and on affect you? How does that affect you if somebody's won't shut up?
If someone's talking to me non-stop, on and on, it's all very well, but if I want to break away from that person to go to the toilet or do something, it's very hard for me or if not impossible, to say, excuse me, do you mind if I just want to go to the toilet a second, or if I want to get sugar to put in my tea. And I've had real trouble with that in the past where I've not been able to do that, and that's and it's very hard for me to deal with someone who you just can't get a word in edge, well, not can't get a word in edgeways, but you don't have the confidence to just break in and say, excuse me, do you mind, or say, excuse me, I want to put my point of view here, or something. That's a nightmare for me.
Yeah.
Suki, so I really have to do. Right, okay, there's another question.
Well, so what I was just going to go back to that last film. That's obviously relationships and stuff. It's a very personal issue. How do you feel about sharing this, how this affects you with other people?
Right, if we go back, I'll go to the video first. Friendships and relationships is an absolute nightmare. So I'll put it like this. Friendships, you can have very casual friendships where you meet someone once in a while for the odd chat. Then you can have very close friendships where you impart a lot of information about your personal life to each other that you wouldn't impart. And then you've got the relationships with your husband, boyfriend, partners, where they practically know every day of your life, every single fault and good point about you. And that's what I really struggle with. It's the relationship and how much communication you communicate with each different person just is a nightmare for me and confusing. And to the point I have found people I've liked and communicated too much and put them off, while others have shown a lot of interest and I've been too scared and not being able to communicate. And this is where I really struggle. I've got some friends now, so at least I know they're good friends who I can rely on, and they will tell me if I do anything wrong. But
yes,
you're always dealing. Communication is 93% non-verbal and 7% verbal. And then you add in all the fact that you've got relationships at every different level, from very light, mild hello every so often to the deepest. It's a spectrum that it just causes confusion and scary, and it's an absolute nightmare. What it's done is at times just said I don't even want to go out and meet people because it's just too much. It's too difficult for me.
Yes, so sometimes it just paralyzes you. Sometimes you just don't know where to start. Yeah. Oh, we've got a hello from a Wendy Minty. I don't know if you know a Wendy Minty, do you?
Yeah, that's like, oh, hello, Wendy. Hi. Yeah, she's supposed to do it. Yeah, she was my ex-manager. Very good too. She's supposed to do it.
Okay, well, we go to Go Dynamics, who are a group who are meeting in Inverurie, and see if they've got any observations or questions for you. Hello there, Go Dynamics. Has anybody got any comments or questions about what Euan's first couple of films? No. Oh well, we'll come back to you. Come back to you later if you've got any questions or comments. Okay. Right. So, well, we've surprised them there. We've surprised it. Keith says, "Haha!" We've surprised them there with it. Well, maybe didn't. I don't know if they had the sound up or whatever. Anyway, that's fine. That's fine. We can come back. We can maybe come back to them later. So, just some of the things you were talking about in the video were about letting people know in advance how much you struggle with things, so that they don't get put off or misunderstand that you're looking for a bit of structure round about it. How do you feel about that?
It's like speaking. I feel like I'm living in a land that talks a foreign language that I don't understand. It's the first thing I ever learned when I was diagnosed is if you went to Paris and couldn't speak French and they couldn't speak English, you'd be in serious trouble. And that basically describes autism for me. Is you're trying to learn, if you try to understand them, but they're trying to understand you as well, because they don't get you, And it's just a nightmare. That's the first thing I ever learned when I was diagnosed with autism. Someone said that's exactly what it's like. You go to Paris and can't speak French, they can't speak English, you've got problems. And that's basically sums it up completely. So
Yes.
by letting people know, so you let people know in advance, this gives them understanding, but they've got to want to understand, and they've got to want to be a friend. And it's all complicated. So you've got these, but anyway, you've got all these barriers to climb over. Michael McEwen. Well, oh, hi, Michael. You're part of, what's the word? Sea Change? No, CitizenFest.
CitizenFest and stay up late. You know what? He's there with everything. Got another comment from Suki here as well. I miss social clues, and at times others feel that I'm ignoring them. I prefer people to just be direct with me, and that's an interesting one on online, isn't it? Because like you say, there's so much of body language is in person, but when you're online, some of that stuff's missed, and sometimes people can misunderstand your directness for abruptness or pushiness, and that can cause further problems, can't it?
Yeah, exactly, and that's I get that, Suki. Is I miss the social clues. I think you're referring to body language here, and as far as I'm concerned with others, I used to there's overreading to body language, and then I realized I was overdoing it. Hence, I could be too intense. So sometimes, I'm 53 now, 14 years diagnosed, but sometimes I just try to ignore it. But if you know yourself, you're missing the cues. Just sometimes I don't know what to say to that, but I would say sometimes I've overread in the past, and it's just sometimes to try and ignore it, but it's not easy. Yeah,
no, it's not easy.
Even in personal, if you're missing your body language, even with your friends, Suki, I would say, and the body language, then it's one of these things. Maybe you just have, if you've got close friends that know you and you feel able to talk about your autism, then you can talk about that to them. But if it's not close friends where you can't talk about your autism, then you just have to, I struggle on. But just try not be affected by others. Just be confident. Develop your own self-confidence is the best thing, and be confident with being an autistic person. That's
interestingly, Euan, as well, though, you've explained to me that you've had pen pals since the 80s. So despite the issues with sometimes connecting with people in person or online, the pen pals have lasted. Do you want to say a little bit more about that?
Right. The reason I did that was because it was easier to make friends that way. And also, there are two American ones. So it took, at that time, I didn't have the internet. So you sent a letter across the Atlantic, which took 2 weeks. So there was no problems with intense communication by the very nature of sending a letter. And then one of them moved to Europe, so then it was 7 days to communicate. So I did it that way, and they both have their issues as well. So I don't know why I managed to make, but they're two of my best friends anyway. But I don't know why that works. But sometimes I wonder that people who have pen friends have reasons they have pen friends because they can't communicate directly. I don't know why, but I suspect there's something in that. But
yes,
but also
absolutely.
Cultural reading.
Okay, well, we'll have to move on to our last 2-minute film, which is just your one, a bit more about your story, and it's called Alone in a Room Full of People. So let's share it just now, and then we'll have time for a couple of last comments. Okay, so that was Alone in a Room Full of People, which is a bit more about your talks that you do. Do you want to just say to people about what you hope to achieve through talking to people about your experience and how things have affected you?
To help myself, apart from anything else, build up confidence, but also to help them understand autism from my perspective. Many people will give talks on autism, but to explain and also create better understanding for people. The one thing I've had issues with family and issues with when I moved into a new flat, transitioning into a new flat, I wasn't supported, and I had other issues about people harassing me, and I couldn't say, I don't want to see you. And there's basically, it's very messy. I was in hospital as well as an outpatient, sorry, and the doctors didn't understand that I have trouble with communication. Just because I look like communication easily at times, they thought, great, if you can communicate at one level, you can communicate at another level, but not at every level I can't communicate. So rather than listen to me, they've caused a lot of damage, which did my health in. So what I want to educate people, and if doctors want to listen, that's great, is that just because we can communicate sometimes is situational, we can't always communicate. And also to understand things like meltdowns where we get stressed because we can't read the body language of someone, so we get scared. And all these things contribute. And the other thing is, literally, communication is communication. Communication varies between your light friends, close friends, medium friends. If you go and communicate with your boss, who's a very tough sort of I'm always right kind of a guy, compared to the way you communicate with your best friend, that's two different types of communication. Just because you can communicate with your best friend doesn't mean you can communicate with your boss as a I'm always right attitude. And unfortunately, people didn't realize that with me, and it caused an absolute. So basically, sometimes in autism, you really do have to look at the communication very deeply. I can give you lots of situations, but they all come back to the word communication. For instance, if I disagree with someone, I might not be able to say, well, actually, I disagree with someone. If it means negotiation, saying, well, I can't see you tomorrow, but I'll see you the next day, and this back and forth, I can't do that. So communication can be very, very complex. Communication, I once wrote on Facebook, I reckon Albert Einstein went into science because he found people too complicated. Because Albert Einstein was autistic. Because maths, engineering, and science, these are all exact subjects. These, like 1 and 1 is 2. There's no other answer to that equation. But communication and the English language is very variable. You've got strawberry jam and you've got traffic jam, two different kinds of jam. So communication is vastly more complex than science. So right, I'll stop talking. I think that's fine.
Right, so we've got Chris Howard saying just now the problem has been alone in empty rooms. So that's the issue of obviously loneliness, that a lot of people are struggling to find ways to connect with people and keep up those friendships. I mean, Keith also put in about, you know, also good skills in keeping up those friendships, talking about your, you know, your pen pals and stuff. But that having real people, it's not necessarily about having lots of people in your life. Some people have Facebook friends coming out their ears, but they're not really close people. I think for you, you've said to me before about you want rather have some close friends rather than just who are real friends.
Yeah, it's all very variable. I've probably got close friends, but it's all very variable between close friends, and you've got a whole range. It's a whole spectrum from the very lightest friends who you might see once in a year to the closest friends in relationships where you're practically in your face 24/7 every day. And so it's a very confusing area.
So your offer is to do some online and in-person training sessions with people to help them understand a bit more about what autism is like, how it affects you, how it might affect other people and their thinking, that kind of things.
Yes. The thing you have to know with autism basically is you can have 10 people in a room who can all present differently with autism in many different ways. The autism that affects me could be different from the autism of 10 different other people. It's a very variable condition, which is why it's more important so that professionals actually just ask you how autism affects you. Yeah, Chris was talking a second ago.
Yes, Chris was saying COVID-19. Yes. So I mean, it's interesting though. I've heard some people with autism saying recently that actually COVID-19 hasn't been as big a change to their lives as it has been to a lot of neurotypical people, because the loneliness is kind of constant. Some people have said to me, you know, my life hasn't actually shifted that much. That level of isolation is what I'm used to. I don't know if what you would say about that.
I'd agree with that. I reckon I cope more with COVID-19 than people who actively go out seeing friends daily, because I'm used to being single and loneliness. So it's actually easier for me. I'm already trained up there. So therefore, to me, it's actually easier. But and in some ways, in the past, it would have probably been more helpful to me too. But I wouldn't go there. But yes, whereas some people who are not autistic and are very active, got good social lives, it's probably affecting their mental health even more so than me. Right, here's June Dunlop.
So she's saying, well done, Euan. Fantastically filmed and very informative. Hope your talks will give people a better understanding of autism and how they should listen without judgment to what people are saying, individuals are saying, change their approach and communication with people going forward. Perfect. Yeah. And we've got Suki saying, COVID hasn't affected me much. I spend a lot of my time on my own. So thinking about that, if anybody wants to contact you, I mean, there's the email address was in the videos that was, so you can go back and watch this on YouTube and on Facebook. What we could do is we could maybe put your email address in the comments as well, if anybody wants to get in touch with you to speak about that. Doing, because you could do the presentations for schools, for universities, for social work students, for organizations, health and social care organizations, anybody, can't you?
Yeah, I can do. I give talks. I can do. To just buzz me, email me, and I'll give you details for that. That'll be brilliant, guys. If any of you are interested or know anyone, just pass on my information. You've got my emails for you guys. You can pass on my personal email if you want to, and I'll do that. Yeah.
That's brilliant, because we just want people not to be alone in a room full of people, and helped to understand and to be more understanding of how to respond to one another. That's excellent. One last comment from Yusuke here. I believe professionals should start treating people with autism as individuals instead of general. Yes. So that people generalize, don't they?
Yes, and I agree with that 100%, Suki, because I was not treated as an individual by the doctor or as a person. It was just, as you might say, a general, this is what we do, you're another patient, we'll do it, standard procedures. And I'm not sure, and Alastair would have his opinions here, so, but I have this image that when you come to professionals, there's a standard textbook about how they help you. It's like a building kit. They say person-centered, but it's not really person-centered for us. And I feel, and Alistair's helped in this to make it more person-centered for the support that I need. Whereas I always feel it's like a building kit. You just have a kit form, but I think, Suki, I agree with you absolutely right. I think you'll find when you go to people, they'll treat you as a general manager. And for example, they'll say to you, well, I have trouble communicating sometimes. I get stressed in situations, but they won't be able to differentiate between that and how you get stressed statistically. I would say autism, everyone has the troubles of the people having autism, stress, communication, but autism exaggerates it. So I hope that helps you, Suki.
Yeah.
You can contact me on Facebook if you've got further questions, guys, and I'll answer them there too.
And I'll stick.
If yes, Fiona Colbert, yes, you can do it either way. If you contact me, I suppose there's no reason why I can't do it over Zoom, the presentations, if that's what you're thinking.
Yes, they're on your website.
That might be possible. Yeah, contact me and we'll contact Alastair and we can arrange it.
Yeah, they're on your website as well, though. I'll put your website on the on the comments. But again, I think the films are good conversation starters, but there's more to it than that. It's about what's the next step for a lot of folk. Jodie's saying thanks, great to hear about your work and very inspired by your videos. So if anybody wants to get in touch, that would be brilliant. And
thank you.
Saying these are very educational.
Like-minded,
Yes, and Jazem's also part of the No Labels, No Walls and has been doing stuff this week as well. So lots of exciting stuff on the go. Brilliant. Okay, so thanks everybody for watching and taking part and joining our conversation here. And we really hope that you'll get in touch and keep spreading a bit more understanding, a bit more thoughtfulness. And here's hoping that we can have more understanding of autism and better responses from professionals. Any final thoughts, Euan?
No, just the one thing is, if you ever want to know about autism, just remember, ultimately, it can be different for every individual, and you're never going to be going wrong by just asking that individual about their autism. And if someone doesn't ask you about your autism and they're a professional, I would suggest you think very carefully about whether that professional understands you. It can be different for us all. I'm only one person with autism. Many people with autism have their own stories.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, nice to talk today.
Thank you very much. All right, bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.